Welcome in, everybody. Glad you're with us on this Sunday night for a playoff preview episode of the Party Time Podcast alongside Alex Kane. My name's Elijah Bond, and Alex, it's been a while, and we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, life comes at you fast and work, school, hockey, everything just makes it hard to find time.
Well, the first thing I think, the biggest thing we need to talk about um, is the goaltending situation, especially right now. Calvin Bashon in the season 16-9-5 with 2.62 goals against and a .896 save percentage. Out right now. A couple of weeks ago, he had a groin injury and he hasn't played since. Cam Hendrickson with the Blackhawks, 10-6-1 at 2.66 goals against average, a .881 save percentage. He's also hurt with the groin injury. Um, Sounds like both the aforementioned goalies are trying to make a comeback. Uh, from what I've gathered, Calvin is day to day, and Cam, according to I believe that's his mom in the fan group, uh, has said that he's trying to make a comeback this week and join the team for playoff games. But in their absence, Carter Casey, uh, the high school goalie, 3-0-0 in three starts, 2.08 goals against average, and .920 save percentage. I thought against Muskegon last weekend, he really shined.
Yeah, no, that was he played out of his mind for it being the first game, and yeah, he may gave up 3 goals, but they're a high scoring team. The Eastern Conference teams always they seem to be able to score, and a lot of times it's the goaltending that will let them down, or they play the Western Conference that always seem to be a little more rough and tumble physical checking team. But yeah, yeah, first start playing, I mean, shorthanded by no mean or by all means. And yeah,
Yeah,
he was in there steady and got us the win.
I think the last three games, the Blackhawks have had six non-healthy scratches. It's crazy. Both goalies, Mike Phelan's been dealing with an injury. Alex Misiak, he's been the one healthy scratch at least last weekend. He will not be with the team. He is on a he's on a going on a national team trip for Slovakia, so he will not be with the team for the playoffs. Which, in a way, good for him. It's a double-edged sword because he's a really high-scoring forward.
Yeah, I say we're not the only team dealing with that. I mean, Tri City, Michael Pradel, I believe was his name. He's playing for Slovakia. In the same U18 tournament. Luckily, it's only down in Texas, so if any of these teams that are missing a guy, if they can make a run, they might get him back depending on how the tournament goes. Uh, Youngstown, I saw Adam Benak. He's made this, the Czech Republic team. So it's just one of those tournaments that kind of comes at a bad time of the year for us. But what can you do? These kids want to play for their national team. That's more power to them. You don't get that opportunity forever. So it one person doesn't make a team. He obviously came in, provided a spark right away, and has been a spark the whole season. But I think maybe Caden Harvey or Nicholas Kosiba take his spot in the lineup, or someone slides up and they slide in, and you never know what playoffs different monster. Everyone's it's gonna be tighter checking team games, and it's a whole different monster, and whatever happens.
Yeah, with Alex, he's out, he will not be with the team. It'll be interesting to see what the team does with the goaltending situation. If Calvin is healthy enough to play this week, I still think you ride the hot hand with Carter Casey 3-0-0 on yesterday. Him and Owen Krudel combined for a shutout. Owen came in with about 6 minutes left after Waterloo made it 5-0 over the Omaha Lancers. I think you have to ride the hot hand with Carter.
Yeah, I don't think you can't take the net away from him. I mean, you hate to have a veteran lose their starting spot, due to an injury like that. But you know, it's all about who's hot, and Carter Casey's hot right now, and uh, after I believe it was after his win against Muskegon, it was on X or whatever, and it was an article someone wrote about him like playing in high school, and he's just they described him as a fighter in net. Like he's always out there, he's fighting, trying to he's just a hard worker in net, and that's obvious. I mean he can get post to post fast. That goal he gave up to Giacomo Martino Friday, he was there. He just he left that pop bottle sized gap between his side and the post, and puck got through. You can't do much about that, but he was a split second away from making that save and keeping that score off the board.
Yeah, he's really impressed me, even in relief in his 2 non-starts in relief of Vashon and Henriksen. I really think with the way it's leading with the goaltending situation, if Cam leaves to go to college and Calvin isn't retained, Casey has to be the 1A next season. It's a long road until then, but in the short time he's been in Waterloo, he's really turned some eyeballs.
Yeah, I say my guess is we'll have an empty net come next year, and yeah, Casey's obviously gonna have a shoe up on anyone because he's been here this season, but obviously you can make a big splash in the draft this spring too. Well, that'll be the telltale, and see what happens with camp invites. I mean, look at Moore. He came to main camp in June as a free agent, made the team, and obviously the season went the way it did for him and after the trade, which you don't want to put anyone in that situation having to go to an Omaha team like that, or any team that's having a horrendous stretch like that. But again, just because their records aren't that good, they still the colleges see that and know what's playing in front of them. I mean, look at Mikhail Yegorov. He left Omaha after being behind a hockey team that's made out of Swiss cheese, and he went to the national title game in half a season with BU, and it looks like he got lit up pretty good there, but not bad for being a freshman on half a season of college hockey, and you get to the Natty right away. So it's whatever.
Yeah, it says something, and that's got to be a talking point with Daniel Moore and his family. Looking at Mikhail Yegorov, and he in the last year and a half in Omaha, the team was absolutely horrendous, and half the season, and you're the starter on a national championship qualifying team. That says something, and I think the way Waterloo responded and showed love to and support to Daniel Moore, it says something about how impactful he was to the team. And somewhere in the fan group, I don't remember a name, but they said the Blackhawks wouldn't be where they are in the playoff seating right now if it wasn't for Daniel Moore, and that's true. When Calvin was struggling at the beginning half of the season, Daniel Moore came in and he provided a good spark. The first game that I remember of his that he really turned my head was the 4-0 shutout of Cedar Rapids, and since then he obviously has been traded to Omaha, but in some fairy tale scenario, I would like to see him back in Waterloo because it's obvious that he is loved on Commercial Street, and not often do you hear a fan base cheer for the opposing goalie when their name is announced in the starting lineup. So
I believe I saw on Facebook that he is off to Princeton next year for college. So unless it's
good for him.
Yeah, unless it's say he's going, but then they get a transfer portal and he wants to come back and Omaha doesn't protect him. But yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, the draft will obviously be the telltale of what possibly the goalie situation next year will be like. And I'm pretty sure Calvin's gone. Even if I just don't think we'll burn an overage spot in 05, on a goalie. There's plenty of other, not saying anything bad about Calvin. There's just, goalie's obviously a spot where you got a wide variety of people you can pick from just because there's limited spots. So, and I think he's going to want to follow PD Melgoza there and be playing under him as an assistant coach. And then with Callum Tongue signing after freshman year from UConn, that pretty much I would say guarantees Cam to go there unless UConn wants to look at an upperclassman goalie as like almost like a mentor next year, like not this next season, but the season after for Cam when he comes in as a freshman. It'll be, that's all going to come down to what the college world does if Cam leaves or not. But from what I've been seeing is, this is it, but we'll see.
I think it says something for him to come in for a half season, mess up his groin in Plymouth, and still make an effort to come back to play playoff games. If this is it, he's really impressed, not only myself, but the entire fan base with the way he's playing. And with him coming in from Omaha, I feel like a lot of people knew that he was a good goalie, but his stats didn't show that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the goalie situation is. I believe Waterloo still has phase two picks.
Yeah, I mean they have two picks. Yeah, first round. And I'll get a write up of that out when they normally really open the draft lobby stuff like a couple days before that. And obviously we're gonna have a pick in every round of both drafts until we have a full protected, initial protected list besides the rounds that we've traded out. And I think we still have 3 or 4 within the first round or 3, first couple rounds or 3. So we'll be able to fill some spots right away. We should be able to keep, some young guys around that will take that next step in their development. And, that's how the league goes. I think if we want to and are able to, if they don't go to college, we'll be able to have our 3 overage spots filled pretty much right away next year. Because from what I can see online, Schultz and Hawkins are both not slated to go to college next year. So, I mean,
those guys will be big returners.
Yeah, if we was able to get back Hawkins for another year, that'd be huge because he's already, he was already a good goal scorer, and he'll just have another year of development and his training. And next year he's obviously already pretty leaned on, but next year I can see next year him being a McMorrow role where he's just he's the the workhorse on the power play more than he already was, and
he's just the option
to clean. He's playing that bumper spot or bumper spot or just waiting for rebounds off the goalie too.
He and Brendan McMorrow on the power play this season, when they're on the same unit, which isn't very often, but when they are, it's just unfair. It's I think Hawkins has 13 or 14 power play goals. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think those two are the top, and obviously there for a while at the start of the year, Caden Hawkins had his own Ovechkin spot where he'd just sit there in the right circle and just one timer at home, little nod to Ovi there just from the opposite side. And if you get a guy like that back, and Schultz again is his stats may not pop off the page at you, but he's out there hitting people and he's hitting people and making it hard to play against. And he gets rewarded for doing what he does. About like last year with Deering. Deering exploded last year about halfway through the season. You could tell he got comfortable in the system, and he just would park himself in front of the net, and he'd get those easy, tap-in goals to, just he got rewarded for being in the dirty area and get a loose puck and put her back in the net.
Speaking of Caden Hawkins, he and Dylan Compton led the team this season in the regular season. That's 45 points each. Compton is the defenseman leading scorer in the entire USHL. I mean, to me, now I might be seeing this through biased glasses here, but to me, Dylan Compton has to be defenseman of the year.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I was looking earlier, the the guy that finished second behind him, Lucas Peterson from Green Bay. Yeah, he's got one less point. He's got one less point than him, but he is. I'm trying to pull it back up. He's like negative 21 on the plus minus, which negative 25 on the plus minus, which is insane for someone that has 44 points, which means he was technically he was on the ice for 69 goals against. And
yeah, that means you're not doing your job.
Yeah, which obviously if it was something power play related or not, who knows? Don't pay attention to them, obviously. And then just quick respond to some of the comments that we have coming in. Yeah, Caden Harvey, obviously he played a couple games earlier for this year. He looked good out there, and yeah, I think he's just again he's a 16-year-old that has to get comfortable, but he seems to be in the right areas, and that the pass last night from Mork to him for the third goal, whichever one it was a damn good pass, and he knew where to go and got open and was one-on-one with Moore.
Tyler, I'm not sure you talked to Alex because I'm pretty sure that he's not with the team right now. Tyler also said he's asking if we're about new playoffs, a new playoff format next year, and I haven't seen anything. I don't have quote unquote sources within the league. Do I think something could come up? Could change? Yes, but I haven't seen anything.
And Mishiak was still in town last night.
Oh, I didn't.
He was talking to Timothy Thomas. I saw him and Calvin up there talking to him. But yeah, he's another one. I have a sneaky suspicion this was it for him with Waterloo if he doesn't come back for the playoffs. If I had to guess, he goes CHL like his brother did. I mean, it's whatever. That's what a lot of the European, the Euro guys do. Look at Vladislav Kristov that we had a few years back, came over for a year, and then I think he went to college right away, but that was before the CHL could obviously play college hockey. But it's still cool to get them Euros over here, and even just even if it's a half a season, it's fun to watch them play. And as much as it sucks sometimes when they move on, it's still fun to follow them and see where they go. And something like that, you can't knock them for taking that next step when arguably the OHL is a better league than USHL for now. I think it's going to even out pretty well in the future because the USHL isn't just going to roll over and let USA Hockey, and USHL is not going to just roll over and let Canadians take over. And where a lot of these people don't get it, if some of these elite United States kids go into Canadian hockey, there's just as good kids that are getting pushed out of the CHL that are going to need somewhere to go.
Exactly.
And, we obviously already have a decent amount of Canadians coming in. So I mean, it's all going to even out. It's just it's a whose thing's better, whose thing's bigger than someone else's thing, kind of it's like a high school testosterone competition of who's better or whatever. It's just it's Iowa, Nebraska corn. It's our corn's better than your corn, but our corn is better than your corn. It's everyone's gonna have an opinion on it, and it's still gonna be good hockey. I mean, even Null hockey's good. It's obviously just a little bit. It's different, but it's still good hockey. The USHL isn't go from a tier 1 league to a just garbage league. It's gonna survive and then evolve as it has the whole time.
On this topic, I was just about to bring up the new deal with USHL, NHL, and USA Hockey. I think what they put out isn't really what's going on. Obviously, I think they highlighted what the public wants to see, but I think a lot of this will be done behind closed doors, and people with within the organizations will realize it, but people outside the organizations, like say me and you, we're fans. I don't know that we will notice any difference in playing style, um, the arenas, what have you. But I think a lot of this stuff will be done behind closed doors. Um, moving on, let's move into play playoff preview. Obviously, Waterloo and Tri City start tomorrow, 6:35 special time for a puck drop. Um, Waterloo coming in on a 3-game win streak. Tri City, they've been struggling as of late, but last night picked up a overtime win, 32 over Lincoln. Obviously, I haven't looked, but I'm gonna assume Lincoln rested a few players. Um, an interesting note, for me anyway, the away team in each of the 4 games has won, and obviously Tri City comes to Waterloo. Um, but we'll see because Tri City, like as you said, also lost a player to the national tournament.
Yeah, when Tri City came to Waterloo, I'd say we were probably arguably playing some of our worst hockey of the season. And they had, I don't remember, I think it was like Nizimayev, Crandall, and someone else was their top line, and they were just lighting everybody up. But now they all play on different lines, and I don't know what the reasoning there was. I don't know if they're trying to spread some scoring around or what, but yeah, didn't seem to help a whole lot. As an overall, we're averaging right around 3.4 goals, like goals for in per game, and allowing 2.8, and they're pretty even on goals they score per game, but they're allowing a 3.6 a game. Their goalie situation without Pradel in there, I think there's
It's a little
opportunity there
rocky.
to it's an opportunity to put some pucks in the net. Both goalies are allowing, I think they're averaging like both 3 something a game and only saving like 88% or less of their shots. So I mean, the opportunity's there. I don't think we need to overplay. We just need to play solid. Don't give up, odd man rushes or breakaways.
I
Play our
think
game, and I think it's a good matchup for us. And yeah, we'll obviously just see what happens.
I think this uh, matchup for Tri City is a whole hell of a lot different than the matchup with Lincoln last year. Jan Shostak, man, he is very impressive, and he stole the series last year for Lincoln. I think he made 40 plus stops each game. So, um, obviously, Lincoln's goalie situation last year is a lot different than Tri City's this year. It'll be interesting. Um, I'm hoping I can go on Wednesday, but I'm hoping there isn't a Wednesday game. I'm hoping Waterloo wins it in 2, as they should. But Tri City struggling. But we'll see. 6:35 puck drop Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday if needed. And the winner of the series will go on and face Sioux Falls starting this weekend. Um, last talking point in tonight's podcast. Matt Smaby. This is his 4th season in year number 1. 28 wins. That was the season that Waterloo did defeat Lincoln uh, in 3 games. Connor Brown 4-goal game in overtime. Man, that was a fun game. 2023 40 wins, 81 points. That was the season where Waterloo and Fargo were battling for first and second place most of the season. Last year, 35 wins, 72 points, and this year 34 wins, but 78 points with the amount of overtime losses Waterloo has had
Yeah,
this
saying
season.
that 21-22 season, you can really put an asterisk beside that for maybe because we're coming out of COVID, and he got announced in, what was it, like July,
Yeah,
and the previous regime had already drafted the team, and he had to work with what was built by the other one, by the other, PK and everyone else. But yeah, that first year, he obviously, he got he had the flashy team there where we had a lot of skill guys and could play, but obviously playoff hockey gets a little gritty. And last year, yeah, obviously we had a dip in production, but let's be honest, we lost the first round, NHL player in Sam Renzel that year, and had to, obviously every team does it every year. You lose people, you got to fill the holes. And yeah, I mean, hell, this year, we're pretty solid in third. Had a little scare there at the end of the season. We were pushing for second until when we had a pretty good run going. And we're at 78 points and 34 wins, and that's not count. If we had continued this season with our overtime ways that we had been the last couple seasons, we'd probably win the Anderson Cup or
easily
a lot damn closer.
Yeah.
Because if you say we lose, you could easily add 8 points onto that if you win 8 out of the 10 playoff games like we had been doing, or not playoff, the overtime games like we had been doing.
Tim said on Friday night that Waterloo and Dubuque were tied for overtime games at 16. And I think Waterloo won maybe 3 or 4 of those games. We win half of those, and
I think we ended up with 10 losses. So yeah, we ended up with 6 overtime shootout wins. But yeah, that other 10, you take another 8 points from that and add it to your season total, and obviously third place is still good. We got first round home playoff games. But you bump 8 points onto that, and we hop over Sioux Falls, and technically on that we lost. We had 2 shootout games with Lincoln, I believe. Well, 2 overtime games.
2 overtime games, yeah.
You take a couple points off them, and it just equals it out a lot damn closer. And then at that point, your top 7 teams in the league are insanely tight between what the West or the Eastern Conference looks like and what the Western Conference would have been. But that's all a big if. And
yeah,
that was always my complaint. Like that year that we had 40 wins, we had more wins than Fargo that year, but more of their losses got pushed to overtime, so they got points out of that. And that was always my biggest complaint. It's like, if you're gonna lose, get to overtime, get the point, and then lose whatever. But one of the just second topic, a guy asked about it on Facebook, our thoughts on the trades. I don't think we really made a bad trade this year. The Houston Knies one was probably the worst one, but I wouldn't say it was a bad one.
Got a lot of trade capital.
We got a lot of trade
draft capital.
Yeah, but we we got a first round to pick out of that, which then obviously facilitated the Ramos trade, and I think that's been huge. Little pat on my own back there. I'd have to go back into Facebook, but I was talking to a guy on Facebook, between Tyler and another guy on Facebook, like a month before that, when Ramos lit us up that 2-game weekend. I was like, someone needs to get that kid out of there. He's driving the entire play for that team.
Yeah, and now that he left and their scoring went downhill.
And little funny story about that. Won't give full details, but he wasn't even supposed to come to Waterloo. Sounds like they had a trade in place to Madison, but it never got processed right. And then it fell apart, and he ended up in Waterloo, which has obviously been a blessing because he may not put he scores a fair amount, but his assist and passing is insane to facilitate other people. But yeah, the Houston Knies trade, I think Knies is a better, I think he's a better defenseman in Smaby's play style, having a good puck moving defenseman. But
what Dylan Compton is on the power play.
Yep. And but you also don't want a guy to stick around if he's asking to be traded, like was what with what I've heard. So you can't have that around. That can cause some bad juju in the locker room, and it's all it's all quote unquote business and trying to do what's best for the kids, and whatever. Houston's obviously a big body, and he can get in the way of pucks, and stuff like that. I think with anytime you get traded to a different team, I think there's some nerves. I think that's what's going on with Davatilla. He just new team trying. Hasn't found. I think he's been playing better than what the stats look like.
Oh yeah,
He's not getting the points, but you can't deny that he's a Matt Smaby hockey player. He's out there skating hard, bugging people. Just he's forechecking, making it hard to get out of their own zone. And you just keep doing that, and you'll get the points coming to you. You'll get it. So
I think what we gave up for Davatilla wasn't that bad. I think we gave up one of our 3 first-round picks in phase 2, and Matthew Lansing was the other big piece. And I think what we gave up in that trade wasn't that bad per se. I hope that Reed finds his goal scoring ability in the playoffs because we'll probably need him down the road. But
yep.
He has impressed me as a put your head down, go grind in the corner type of player. A couple questions here to round out the podcast. What do you think about the GM leaving, going off to NCAA? Any idea who's going to take over that role? I think it was just a matter of time for Bryn Chiswick to get a spot in college, and I think that Matt Smaby is going down that road too. Eventually, he will leave Waterloo to go to the NCAA. Maybe not with North Dakota head coach job opening up, but it was obvious that he was going to go off to the NCAA. Is talking about Chiswick, excuse me, that he's made some really good trades in the past couple seasons. Last season, Will Felicio came in from Madison, played really well, and this year it was Sam Huck coming in before the season started. I was actually at a Hawkeye football game when that trade got announced, and I'm like, who is this kid? Fast forward 7 months, and he's a fan favorite on the team. He's my favorite player on the team, and he will definitely be missed next season. Any more questions that I missed on Facebook? Do you see any questions that we missed?
I think that's about all I've seen throughout the day, from what I can remember. The Sam Huck trade is unreal. Obviously we've had players that skate hard and are fast. I mean, one thing that I was thinking about last night was if you just imagine him and James Hong on a line together, it would have been off. It would have been off to the races because those both guys could, put those two, Ramos, Huck, and James Hong on a line together, and you wouldn't be able to keep up with them because they just skate circles around you. They might be a little bit smaller and it could get pushed around, but you give them space and it'd be unreal. But I don't. I'm trying to get to Facebook. I think that's about all I had wrote down to talk about too.
Yeah, I think that's all we got. One last thing. Tyler says I would start Calvin tomorrow. I wouldn't. This is just me. I don't know if Tyler, if you missed the opening part of the podcast, but I would start Carter Casey straight out in his last 3 starts, and Calvin hasn't played in 3 weeks, so I don't think you can take the net away from Casey. Maybe if Casey loses a game and Waterloo's up against the ropes, then maybe. But if Waterloo wins tomorrow, Casey's a net. I don't think you take him away for the rest of the series.
Yeah, if anything, if Calvin's feeling good, have him take warm-ups and be a backup in case shit falls apart tomorrow night. But if it even if that does, then throw him back in for game 2, see if he can see what happens. But yeah, I don't think you take the net away from a guy that is 2 months removed from high school hockey, came in and is arguably beat 2 of the higher scoring teams in the league between Sioux City and Muskegon.
Yeah. And that will do it
Well,
for
hey,
tonight.
let's hit the
More.
bracket. Let's get the bracket predictions quick. We got that last
Oh,
comment in quick.
yeah. So last comment.
Hold on, let me pull mine up. I think it's on my phone actually. I don't remember.
I gotta pull up the bracket actually. I know who I want to win in the series, but I gotta actually pull up the bracket so I can go series by series. Let's start in the West. Sure. Um, Waterloo and Tri City. I think Waterloo takes it.
Yep.
Takes it 2 or 3. I'm hoping 2, but maybe 3. Fargo and Sioux City. With the way Fargo's been playing as of late, Sioux City also hasn't been playing that great, but I think Sioux City takes it in 3 because of home ice advantage. Interesting note: they start on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and every other series goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Um,
Yeah,
in the
the bus driver was sitting behind me Friday, and they have which I think they do this every year. They have a circus in Tyson Event Center.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
So
Yeah.
it always, it always messes their schedule up. Which that's side note. Uh, saw over the weekend or last weekend, I think that Green Bay makes out of the first round. They will not be able to play at the Resch Center because the NFL draft is at Lambeau or like the convention center right there in that complex, and the NFL takes possession, ownership, control, whatever you want to call it, of that whole complex, and they will not have hockey games at the Resch Center from what I've seen on Facebook. So that'd just be
That's gonna be interesting.
that'd be a kick in the nuts for the fans and the team to earn your
Where
way
where
out.
were they? Where were they playing? Madison
Well, no, I would
or
assume it. I would assume it's probably gonna be that Cornerstone where we played preseason up there,
oh yeah. Well, it
which
could be the
would
Kohl
really
Center.
what
They could
or the
play at the
Kohl
Kohl
Center.
Center in Madison. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
that's the biggest
Oh,
trend I can think of. It's in a 2 hour radius.
or or I don't know if it's where the Bucks play, but where the Milwaukee Admirals play.
Oh yeah.
Unless the Admirals have playoffs too, I haven't followed
Yeah,
the
yeah,
AHL that much.
they're in, but I don't know. The first round in the AHL is weird. So maybe because their regular season ends next week, and then I think the first round in the Central Division anyway is just 4 versus 5, and
Mm-hmm.
I think Milwaukee is the second or third seed in the Central Division anyway. So it could be there. It could be the Kohl Center. But if Green Bay does make it out, which they will go on the road in the first round to play Madison, if they make it out, they can't play home games. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I saw that. Yeah, the Resch Center posted pictures of them. Yeah, using wheel loaders and stuff to push the ice out. I'm like that's brutal.
It's
But
weird.
obviously the NFL draft is gonna bring in a ton more money than what USHL playoff hockey is. But yeah, it's just one of those deals. Makes you wonder if the Green Bay Blizzard indoor football team don't have home games for a while then too, or
I
if they're
haven't. I should look at this schedule because the Barnstormers, but I haven't got the chance to look at their schedule. In the Eastern Conference first round, it's Cedar Rapids and Muskegon, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those games start at 6 o'clock Central Time. I think Muskegon takes it pretty handily uh, in 2 games, maybe 3. Um, there's a big gap between fourth in the East and fifth in the East, and I think in terms of points, I think there's a talent gap too. So Muskegon takes that series. Green Bay and Madison Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. Those games start at 7 o'clock Central Time. I think Green Bay pulls off the upset as a 6 seed in 3 games uh, at the Bob Cedar Capitalized Arena. Main reason is Green Bay has a really good goal scorer, and Madison will not have home ice advantage. They don't draw good crowds. They don't draw good crowds on weekdays. Well, really any team does in the USHL, but I think Waterloo will move on to play Sioux Falls, and I think Waterloo takes that series in 5 games. We'll call it 4 games. Main reason is I think Waterloo won every game in the season series against Sioux Falls. But they really dominated in Sioux Falls, winning 8-2, I think it was, and then obviously that massive 4-goal comeback and winning in a shootout. I think they will move on to play Lincoln. Wait. So Waterloo moves on, and then Sioux City will play Lincoln. I think Lincoln behind Jan Sostak moves on to the Western Conference Final in 4 games. In the East, it'll be my prediction is Muskegon and Green Bay. If it's true that Green Bay can't play home games, I got Muskegon in 3. I think if they play anywhere not close to the Rec Center, they are in for a world of hurt on neutral territory against the Lumberjacks. So they will move on. Or excuse me, I got the bracket messed up here. So so Muskegon would go on to play. Is it Dubuque 2 seed?
No, Youngstown.
Youngstown 2 seed.
No, Youngstown's 1 seed.
Okay, yeah.
They don't reseed, which is weird, but it's probably easier for travel purposes.
That's true. So Muskegon would go on to play Youngstown. That'd be a brutal travel series. I still think Muskegon moves on. And then Green Bay will go to Dubuque. I think Dubuque takes that one. So Dubuque and Muskegon in the Eastern Conference Final, and Waterloo and Lincoln in the Western Conference Final. Dubuque is just way too powerful offensively. They'll go to the Clark Cup Final. I think Lincoln knocks out Waterloo. It's a 1-versus-1 matchup, and Lincoln wins the Clark Cup Final behind Jan Sostak. And what a job it would be by Rocky Russo if Lincoln doesn't win the Clark Cup Final.
Yeah, it's about what I have. I have Lincoln, Muskegon. I have Lincoln winning it. As much as it pains me to say it, the way obviously it seems like every year we meet them in the playoffs at some point. I think even if their offense can't get it going, I think Sostak will be able to do enough to keep them in it and eke out a close win or 2 if they need to. Otherwise, they're a pretty well-rounded team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's obviously part of it. It's going to come and go. They might have I don't think they've made a ton of trades, so they probably won't have as big of a fall off as some if they, make a bunch of moves to try to acquire talent. But yeah, I have Madison beating Green Bay. I don't think Green Bay's goalies will be able to keep them in it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
They've had a pretty rough situation. The only thing would be is if they can score 5-6 goals and just outscore Madison, then it could happen. But playoffs again normally get a little tighter checking, and you don't have as much room. And it's obviously just a crapshoot with the shorter series. I wouldn't mind them, going to like a 5-game every round series, or if they do want to have a longer series, even knockout to make it a 4-team playoff. Or I don't know. The playoffs are good. It's just it's kind of like the NCAA tournament. Even some of the bad games are still good games to watch. It's just it's more hockey to watch. And
exactly.
Yeah, I have Waterloo beating Tri-City, Sioux City beating Fargo, and then Lincoln, Waterloo, and Lincoln going. I don't have any crazy upsets besides Muskegon over Youngstown. Youngstown's gonna be missing Adam Banach. Takes a little bit of one spoke out of their wheel. It could be enough to disrupt stuff. And Melvin Strahl he'll have a few good games and a bad game. So it's any team is going to come down to who gets hot when. It's
exactly
the way it works. Look at the year. I think it was Madison, Sioux City. They were both lower seeds. I think Sioux City was the 5 seed actually, and they ended up winning it that year. It just, yeah, whoever can get hot at the right time and rattle off 11 wins and get the cup home. So,
Alrighty, that will do it for tonight's podcast. Tune in to the Blackhawks and Storm this week, starting tomorrow at 6:35. For Alex Kane, my name is Elijah Bond, and this has been the Party Town Podcast.